Hi there, I'm Joe Francis Dowden and I'm going to show you how to paint this dramatic sky in watercolour. And the first thing we're going to do is mix a few colours and then we'll wet the paper and get started. First, we'll be using yellow ochre. This will be a base for many of the other colours. This is burnt sienna, a lovely golden orange brown. And now we'll want a dark with French ultramarine and burnt umber. Together they'll make any number of different dark colours. Cobalt blue is the sky colour. This is alizarin crimson and that will give us a violet look to the sky. And finally, I know that I'll need a lot more burnt umber and French ultramarine so that when we come to paint the rich deep darks, we'll have plenty of colour. Now, before we start the painting, we're going to need to put a horizon in. I want a high horizon, but I still want quite a lot of sky in, so I'm putting it a little way above the centre. And we're going to key in marks on the edges so that I can always see it, and then we'll put a line straight across the middle. There we go. Now I want to place the sun, and the same principle applies about the centre. Keep it away from the centre. This is a centre of interest, but it mustn't be in the middle of the painting. So I'm going to offset it to one side and I'm going to put it over here. That is just a masked blob for the sun. It doesn't need to be perfectly round. The colour is going to be white, the white of the paper, and I'm now going to try and get the dazzling look of the sun by the way we place the colours around it. So first we need to dry it. Next I'm going to brush water all over the painting. I'm just pressing the masking tape down to make sure no colour will leak underneath it, and when I pull that away at the end we'll have a lovely clean edge to the image. So next we wet the entire piece of paper. Now I am going to leave a small patch of dry around the sun to start with, and we're going to endeavour to keep that light and we get as much water on the paper as possible. Now incidentally, this is rough surface paper. Why rough? Well, the rough surface, the tooth, actually makes the painting smoother and oddly gives the painting a smoother finish despite being rough. It'll help me control the colour better. Now we're going to start with yellow ochre. I'm going to mix a little in the palette like this, get it going as a little pool of water and colour, and we'll start brushing it on. There we go. I'm going to keep the top of the sky fairly light, and we'll be putting some blue on there in a minute, but first we get as much of this colour on as possible. We'll cover the painting. Now notice I'm leaving a slightly light swathe of paper just below the sun in a vertical track. That'll become a little bit more obvious in a minute. And now let's just cover the paper with this yellow ochre. It's a lovely golden brownish yellow, the colour of corn in a field. There we go. Lots and lots of colour just being flowed on. And can you see how around the area of the sun it's still soft focus? I've kept it away from the edge of the water. I don't want any hard edges around the sun if possible. The masking is simply there as a precaution to allow that sun to be completely protected whatever happens. Now the next colour I'm going to use is burnt sienna, and this is going to give the lovely warmth, the richness, a kind of orange to the sky. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful colour. Just a hint with burnt sienna, put it on a little bit more strongly than you would think would be necessary, because it will dry much more pale. Now, watch this. We just brush it on really strongly all over the lower half of the painting. Now, the lower half of the painting are these tidal mud flats with mud banks sticking out, shallow water and mud sticking out in high tide, so it's much darker than the sky. Now, mud it may be, but it'll be golden when we finish. Now I need some clean water just to go into the area of the sun. You can see how just in this little area we've got colour moving a little bit too close, and I'm pushing it back. I'm pushing that back from the edge of the sun to create a soft edge. I'm doing that with clean water. Now we carry on putting the colour on. I'm going to re-wet the top. Here we go, because that's already drying. And now cobalt blue. And mix it up very well on the brush so there are no odd lumps and bits and pieces. And this cobalt blue we just run across the sky like this. Look at that. Lovely. So we've got a little bit of the high evening sky as dusk draws in. Nearer the sun, we keep it light, we keep it pale. So there we go. Beautiful. Now we gradually build the painting up. We place more and more colour on, and it gets deeper and richer as we go. There's a little bit of burnt sienna there, you might have noticed. Wasn't quite mixed in properly, but I'm mixing it in on the paper now, making sure that it all settles in beautifully. So here we go, more and more colour. You see how deep that is? Keep it strong. Put it on the paper strongly. And now we can build it up with some more yellow ochre. This is the yellow that's close to the sun. We get that into the bottom of the track of the sun's reflection. This long, soft focus, vertical reflection from the sun going down into the mud. The next stage is to start using a little bit of blue. So we're adding burnt sienna to some cobalt blue, and we're making deeper greys now. So we deepen the colour away from the edge of the sun. Now, can you see the principle? It's simple really. The further away we are from the sun, the cooler and the darker, the bluer and the darker, essentially, the colour is. And this will make the sun look bright and brilliant. And we reflect all the colours above the horizon down below the horizon.